Earlier this month, iPulse had the privilege of sitting down with seasoned journalist Aleen Sirgany, who shared her unique perspective on journalism. With over 25 years of experience, including 7 years at CBS News, Sirgany offered a wealth of knowledge during her conversation with reporter Allison Wallace.
As a journalist, what kind of advice would you give for someone like me who is really passionate in the news industry and wants to succeed? What type of advice would you give to someone like that?
What I found really helpful when I was in university, like you are now, was I learned as much as I could, and not only in my classes, but especially out in the field, whether that was watching the news, reading the news, and understanding what it takes to be as professional, but as personal as possible, because it's important to remember that as a journalist, your job is not only to report the facts, but to ensure that your audience is interested in those facts.
Thank you for that advice. How would you say to make your audience more intrigued in what you're covering? How would you go about it?
I think it's really important to remember that every story should be about a person. No matter what the story is, it should be relatable to a 5-year-old, to a 90-year-old, to anybody, whether regardless of their age or their economic status. It should be relatable and understanding for anybody.
So thank you. Can you tell us what it was like your overall experience being a news anchor at CBS?
I was a news anchor at local stations, and then at CBS News, I was a correspondent. And I can tell you that along every direction, whether it was in local news or at CBS News, Newspath, I felt a tremendous responsibility to not only do the stories well, but it was a public service. Journalism is a public service, and it's a tremendous responsibility. So I tried to do the best I could with that public service in being factual, punctual, and being as responsible as I could be with whatever story was being reported that day.
Speaking of stories, what would you say is the hardest story that you've had to cover being a reporter?
Well, I could tell you that there were difficult stories as it related to emotional stories, but what I found to be the most challenging was how to make a story personal when I didn't really grasp the details of that piece. For example, financial pieces might not come as naturally to me as other pieces, but it was important that we were able to tell that financial piece in a way that was compelling, not only factually, but emotionally, so that people understood how it might impact their own individual lives.
Thank you. And absolutely, I agree with that. In the news industry today, I feel personally that facts can kind of get miscommunicated. How would you tell someone like me to make sure that I give out the right factual information as fast as possible?
I think what's more important is not the speed. Of course, we have to meet deadlines, and we have to ensure that the public is receiving the information as quickly as possible. But what is more important than that is to ensure that you're giving the correct information. What I had the privilege of doing was I ensured that the facts were absolutely correct. But I didn't just rely on my own reporting to do so. I had a producer, I had an editor, and if a producer or editor was not available, then I would rely on perhaps my photographer. Was that what that person said? Is that what is this how the story? And to just keep yourself honest to the facts and make sure that journalism is truly a responsibility to be factual, not just compelling, but to do so in a factual way. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Some great advice. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it is my pleasure being here, and I am a big fan of iPulse. I am a big fan of the heartbeat of Lynn, and I believe that anything that can be done, that you guys will do, and I'm so proud of everything that's happening here on this campus.
Thank you so much.
I'm Allison Wallace for iPulse Live.